Hey, it's Jeff. Welcome back. And today we're starting a chess improvement series. And this is really just a series to kind of help you guys get better, especially if you're under 1500 chess.com rapid. That's kind of like my target audience for this, I would say. But overall, like, I've been playing chess for quite a long time now, and I've taken notes about all types of improvement topics. And in general, I do feel like I understand a lot of the struggle people have with improving. And the few people that I have like shared some of this info with, like through coaching and stuff, they found it pretty beneficial. And at least now that like we've gotten some new people on the channel, I decided, well, I might as well start releasing some of this stuff now, because before I had planned to like really talk about this stuff a lot more in depth when I became a master, if I ever became a master. I mean, if you were to look at my USCF history, you'd see that I'm nowhere near like a master, and I've been like stagnant for like years. But a big part of that is that I don't go to as many tournaments as I could have. But that's neither here nor there. But let's get into it. So the first one is going to be on knowledge and skills. And this is partly because like I studied psychology in school, mainly because I was interested in expertise. So like growing up, I always looked at people like doing these amazing things, becoming best in the world at stuff, and like wondering like how could I become at that level at anything. And then one of the main topics I came across was deliberate practice. And so stuff like that where it's not necessarily just your talent that'll take you places, but if you're really dedicated and work hard, you can make up for a lot. And so basically the point of deliberate practice is you pick some like sub skill and you like really focus on that. And so it's kind of like covering your weaknesses in a way. So by listing out like different knowledge and skills in chess, we can see like compared to a master, what are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? What's the skill gap in different areas? Instead of saying, okay, this guy's 2800, you're 1200, everything's wrong with your chess. Of course, we all know that. But to improve, it doesn't mean you have to work on openings like that 2800. It could just mean you need to work on like tactical vision in the short term and like some other things, and like the ratio of what you practice will be different than someone that's much stronger. And that was one thing that I asked my coach about recently, and we'll talk more about that later if I remember. But basically, stronger players typically spend more times on openings, and lower rated players typically don't need to learn as much theory like as you would expect, because like memorizing 25 moves deep into an opening is going to be useless if you're a beginner, for instance. But there are some things to get around that, like just learning the basic principles can help you out a lot. And you'll see that my argument for really focusing on tactics, in particular tactical vision, could help you out a lot, like just getting your basic pattern recognition of tactical patterns down, which a lot of this might sound obvious. Like I don't think I'm saying anything that's going to be too new, but hopefully I can put it in a way that like more people can understand. If you've been looking around on Reddit or anywhere for chess advice and you feel like you don't really looking at something, but if you don't feel like you've been looking around for advice and you still feel like you're a little lost on how to improve, hopefully this series could clear some things up. Because if it doesn't, you could ask some questions in the comments. I can try to reply and update videos with better information or so on. So, and also this is just like a video version of the article that will be posted as well. So people can decide how they want to digest this information. And this is more like an informal discussion about this stuff. Maybe I don't talk about every single thing. Maybe there's some new stuff that I talk about that's not an article, so. And it doesn't hurt to like repeat some information. So basically, Chess Improvement Series number 1, we're just talking about what are some of the knowledge and skills, like how can we break down chess into some, like, the main thing is going to be like 3 key areas that we'll break it down into today. And those can also be further divided into other things, but let's get into it. So yeah, some disclaimers. The success on a leader game, the end-game leaderboard, does not make you the best at end games. Hopefully that's obvious to most people. One thing I do notice is that whenever I'm watching like people do Puzzle Rush or just playing like bullet chess, people are always like very impressed in the comments. Like if you're watching Naka play, for instance, like how is he calculating this or seeing this stuff so fast and everything. And it is true, like these people are very good at what they do, but I think some of it is kind of like replicable for you. Like you can drill to a point where you can be as fast as he is, or at least some of the puzzles, maybe not like the higher rated ones, but like let's say first 10 to first 20, it wouldn't be impossible for like any player to build up to the point where they can see the puzzles as fast as him, I think. And I say this because I was at a point where I couldn't do them as fast as him, and I worked to the point where, at least on the first 20, I can match his speed most of the time now. Now after 20 is a whole different story, but it just goes to show that if you do focus on like one particular instance that you're very weak at, you can really start to turn things around. And let's see, I'm kind of just rambling, but okay, I'm not a chess master. Yeah, we all know that. And so I think some people, or at least even what I do sometimes, is I really pay attention to when like a really strong player is saying something over like if someone weaker was saying it. I think that's kind of natural. You want to get like the best sources for your information as possible. One thing I can say is that I have talked to a lot of very strong players. I've taken notes on what a lot of strong players have said in the past, and I've like kind of analyzed it all and joined things together and figured out, okay, there's tons of people that say this is important, tons of people that say that is important. What do they have in common that they all universally agree that's important? And those are like the main key takeaways that I generally try to convey, I think. So I think there are some people that could find some benefit into what I say, even though I'm not a master. And hopefully, if you are skeptical, you come back in a few years, maybe one day I'll have NM next to my name if I start going to tournaments again. But we'll see. And also multiple ways to get better at chess. This can be seen in like the styles of the world champions. Like you have some people that are very positional, some people that are very tactical. And obviously if you study like one thing more than another, then that will become your strength. And the fact that we have like past world champions of different styles means it isn't like too detrimental if you focused on one thing too much and made it a super big strength and then started kind of rounding yourself out in other areas. Because you can see that there's some people that are really good at the opening, some people really good at the end game, tactics, attacking, defending, you name it. Although nowadays the meta is really, you gotta be kind of universal, like play lots of different positions equally well. But you definitely see like in like the first 5 world champions or so, and maybe even like a little bit beyond, usually there's like some style that defines how they play. And so like you might look at Capablanca for like positional stuff and in-game stuff and so on. So let's see, I went over all that stuff. And I've coached some people that I found on Reddit randomly, and they were people who felt like really unsure about how to improve, and I was able to like kind of analyze how they calculate through tactics and give them my thought process on like the forcing moves, checks, captures, and threats. You might be familiar. I heard like, I think Gotham Chess might have covered that topic before, but checks, captures, and threats is like the main theme that we'll talk about. And if you heard of it, then that's great. If you heard of it and you're still making tons of tactical mistakes, hopefully the things I'll go over in the next few videos will help out a lot with that, because it'll just be like a lot of extra practice with forcing moves in a practical setting for your writing level is the plan. And the main target audience is from beginners to 1500chess.com rapid. Now, if I were to go to the leaderboard, how do I find a leaderboard though? Not this leaderboard, but my rating leaderboard. I want to do it for rapid, so here, full stats, global. So here's like a little histogram. I hope that's the right word for it, I don't remember. This type of chart. And let's see, where's 1500 on here? So 1500 is already way past the peak. If you're over 1500, you're probably like pretty serious about chess, know a thing or two. But most people that are watching this video are probably gonna be around this level, like somewhere below 1500. So it makes sense that if I'm gonna make a improvement type series, it should kind of encompass most players. And also, I'm not like super strong in the grand scheme of like where masters are, because I'm only about 1900 to 2000 in rapid. So it doesn't make sense to try to cater to these people up there. So that's kind of like where we're at. So most of you guys, less than 1500, guaranteed. And that's okay, because we're all going to try to improve. Like, I'm going to try to improve my level, and hopefully I can make some content that'll help you guys improve your level, if you like. And there's also this handy site that gives you rating comparisons to USCF and FIDE and so on. I should just chessgoals.com/rating comparison. I think it's done by Smarter Chess, who is someone that's affiliated with chess.com, I believe. It's a national master, does some statistical stuff. I also have like my lessons with pretty strong GM. He's currently playing in, is it the World Cup or something? But yeah, Federico Perez Ponce. I have like a playlist for these lessons that you can find on my channel. If you're watching this video, then you just click on the playlist and you'll find the lessons there. And that's kind of the stuff that I work on personally to improve my chess, which will be different than what I recommend for under 1500. Because under 1500, you really want to be focusing on tactics more heavily. It's fine to branch out and work on other things as well, but just keep in mind, if you're doing like 80% openings and 20% tactics, is probably not going to improve you as much as if you did 80% tactics and 20% openings. But even that might not be like the breakdown you want to do. Like you'd want to introduce some type of like playing chess as well, and maybe analyzing your games. But I think like if you really had no time and you did want to study some chess outside of playing, then spending it all on tactics wouldn't be the worst idea in the world if you're under 1500 rapid. Okay, so knowledge and skills. For any knowledge and skill, you can track performance using speed and accuracy. This is a very well, duh, obvious type of statement, but I think it's very, very important, at least for me. Like, because basically whenever I think about why is someone better at this than someone else, it's just going to come down to this. There's going to be some knowledge or some skill that they have that you don't, and they're either faster or more accurate or both. In a lot of cases, it's just going to be both. The bigger the rating gap, the better chance that they have more knowledge, more skill, they're faster, and they're more accurate at pretty much everything. That's what makes them able to win every game in a row against a certain level. And then there's a trade-off. So you can be fast and lose accuracy, or be accurate and lose speed. And this is going to be very key when we talk about tactical improvement, because there are two main types of tactical advice that you'll find online, and they're both contradictory, but we'll see that they both make sense and that they do target different skills. So it's important that we take both types of advice into account and figure out which one do we really need for our level, basically. And we'll talk about that more in future articles, I believe. So here's calculation and evaluation. So every move uses both in some proportion. And then I also define these things here. So calculation is like thinking, if I move here, then they move there. You're just visualizing in your mind the possibilities. Calculation, they can be like 4 or more moves and have like multiple variations. And it's the thing that kind of like strains your mind the most, or when you're thinking about a complicated situation, it's like you can't really just rely on your knowledge. You really have to see and figure it out for yourself that this is going to work. Then evaluation is your assessment of the position with better and why. And a perfect evaluation would be saying the position is won, lost, or drawn. You use the evaluation to create a plan. Now, in evaluation, like, okay, in some end games, you can say, okay, this is won, lost, or drawn guaranteed, especially now that we have table bases that have solved chess up to a certain point. But typically, when we talk about evaluation, it's from the positional standpoint of like different elements in a position. So if you're familiar with Jeremy Stillman's books, he talks about different imbalances. So like one side might have a bishop pair, the other side doesn't. And so a grandmaster might say, like, I prefer white's position because they have the bishop pair. That's a positional evaluation. Like nothing else is different in the position. It's just one side has the bishop pair, one side doesn't. And typically the bishop pair is going to be more useful than not having it. But then we also know there are situations where if the position is really close, then you want to prefer knights versus bishops. And then maybe like pawn weaknesses, having fewer pawn islands might be an indication that your position is better than your opponent's, especially if nothing else is the same. But typically, when you evaluate a position, there'll be lots of different factors at the same time that's clashing. And then at that point, what sets apart a master versus a non-master is going to be picking out what's the most important distinction in the position that's actually relevant. So it gets a lot more complicated, but luckily for us, for this under 1500 level, we don't have to worry too much about evaluation at all. Now it is a thing that you should learn the basics of, and when the time comes, I will recommend some resources that I find pretty useful for getting you started there. But if you've seen like some of my lessons, you'd know my evaluation of position is terrible. My opening knowledge is terrible. Like I pretty much just survive based on tactics. And I don't even like playing in a tactical manner. I like playing in a more positional manner. Like I like players like Carlsen, Karpov, and like basically the just more positional players. Like I don't like crazy attacks and sacrifices, even though tactics is the strongest part of my game. Maybe I should try playing like that more, I don't know. So, but yeah, that's like what evaluation is kind of. And then tactics in general is just gaining material, forcing checkmate, or forcing a draw. Then, yeah, tactical vision or tactical intuition. It's the ability to quickly discover hidden tactical ideas, usually involving sacrifices. Tactical vision, it's like 1 to 3 moves basically, like simple tactics. So in Puzzle Rush, like let's say your first 10 puzzles, perfect example of tactical vision, because these are positions where even if a master had not seen these positions before, they will just solve it instantly because the pattern is very similar to something they've seen before. And this is going to be the most important thing that I stress for my target audience to improve on. And usually there's a clear motive involved, and you solve with pattern recognition with very light calculation. So this is like the key takeaway from the video and from the next few videos, I would believe, is that we're going to be figuring out how to get better at tactical vision, learn the patterns, and maybe some of the calculation, because calculation is the other part of it. Like you see an idea with your tactical vision, or tactical intuition, and then you have to calculate to make sure it works. But sometimes it's just enough to see an idea to know that this could be dangerous, and you just find some other line. Like imagine you're in like this fork in the road. You have 2 moves you want to play, and then one of them looks like it's completely safe. The other one looks like it's kind of safe, but there's some risk. You wonder if some tactical idea works or not. Well, if you're sure that both moves are probably going to be roughly equal and you're low on time, you might just pick the safe option instead of like figuring out if he needs to calculate a lot more to see if the other option works when it's not even going to be that much better than the first option, if that makes sense. And so tactical vision is very useful to practice regularly to maintain the patterns and be in good form. I've heard it called similar to like practicing scales, like if you play a musical instrument. Like even when you're very strong at chess, it's going to be helpful to warm up with something like Puzzle Rush and really make sure that you're solving these puzzles instantly still. Okay, and then for tactical ability, this I read from a diversity book. So you can break down tactics into two skills, tactical vision and calculation of variations. And we have defined all of this above, so this is just like to get a good overview or like map of what are the skills that we are going to be like thinking about, instead of just saying I want to get better at chess or I want to get better at openings, middle games, or end games. Like in general, what are we doing on every move that kind of expands all of that, basically. We know that calculation and evaluation are the two main things, but tactical vision is what will help you see some ideas that you can calculate pretty much. So that's kind of like the main idea I want to get across, and it's going to be summed up here by Kotov. So in one of his books, he talks about the three main chess qualities, and that's positional judgment, which is also the same as like evaluation, tactical vision, and calculation. So only when you have a perfect grasp of these three things can you understand the position at the board, which is like evaluation. Like to have a correct evaluation means you understand what's happening, examine the hidden tactical possibilities, tactical vision, and work out the necessary variations, calculation. One thing I will say, if you're playing a lot of blitz chess, tactical vision is going to be much more important than calculation. If you're playing like longer chess, calculation is going to probably be a little bit more important than tactical vision, although I would argue that it's still very important to have some baseline tactical vision, or else you'll just be spending a lot of time calculating. But there'll be some easy ideas that you miss where like maybe you'll find it out through calculation, but if you had done a little bit of tactical vision training, you would just know, oh, this is an idea in a position, and it would just save a lot of time in general and energy, because calculation takes up energy. Whenever that article came out, I don't know if it's true or not, about grandmasters burning calories while playing, it's probably mostly from calculation than anything else, because tactical vision and evaluation, these are things that are like quick judgments. Like you see a position and you instantly have some like pattern recognition base that says, oh, this is similar to this game, or so on. So then I have this section, is learning all these definitions helpful for improving at chess. And like I said before, it helps to provide a clear map of what makes a chess player stronger than another. So we have like these three things, tactical vision, calculation, and evaluation, in terms of thinking about how we can apply that to every move. Because in openings, you have like evaluation things like develop your pieces, get castled, and so on. Don't move the same piece twice is a common saying. These are things that can help you make very quick decisions that are going to be right more often than wrong. And in the end game, you know, like king activity is more important. You want to get the king in the center, or just some other random stuff that you might find in terms of end game evaluations, like the opposition. Those things become more relevant than in the middle game or something. But the idea of tactical vision comes up in everything, because you can like get your queen pinned to your king or something in the opening, or it can fall into a skewer in the end game. Like tactics will come up everywhere. Calculation will come up everywhere, and evaluation will come up everywhere. It's just a different type of evaluation that goes on in opening versus end games, and even different middle games. It's like there's like queenless middle games that are similar to end games, but they have enough pieces on the board that it's not exactly what you would find in most end game books. So let's see, what else do we have to talk about? Main decider of games, less than 1500. it's almost always tactical related. And this we'll try to prove by looking at a lot of games and seeing how it plays out, like rapid games where people have enough time to avoid making some tactical decisions, but they end up falling for some traps. And in Blitz, it's easy to brush it off and say, oh, you only had 2 seconds to make a move. But when you spend 30 seconds to make a move and you hang your queen, that indicates something went very wrong in your tactics. And it only takes like one bad move to ruin an otherwise perfect game. And so, lastly, we just have the plan. We'll be focusing mostly on tactical vision and some calculation improvement tips. And also, like I said, at some point I will recommend some sources for improving at things like the opening and just general evaluation. But for now, we're just going to be going on what I think would gain you the most rating points and then start talking about the other stuff later. So other stuff will be coming, but for now it's mainly tactical vision and some calculation. And I do think you can probably get to like 1500 or above with just tactical ability alone. It's kind of controversial if that's how everyone should learn chess. I'm of the opinion that you can always learn what you're weak at later on. Like if you have bad habits or build bad habits early on, you can just change your habits. So hopefully I can make that easier for you guys. Like if you have bad habits, I'll teach you how to break those habits and build new ones. But if you have enough time in the day, then you might as well just study like all the areas of chess and have a more well-rounded education. But also there's a lot of people that they don't have tons of time to study on chess. If they had to pick one topic, tactics would be it. So making sure that everyone's set on their tactical training seems to make the most sense to focus on. And also, if it's different than what a lot of other people put out about chess improvement, because I haven't watched a ton of I know John Bartholomew has a chess fundamental series and some other people have similar videos. If my approach is different, then maybe that's like a positive, because if people really are stuck after seeing all the other stuff out there, then if they come to my channel and find some benefit, then that means I made the right decision in trying to cover these topics in a different way. So that's kind of the main point of me doing these. And also because like the students that I have had in chess have made like lots of gains in their tactical rating and also like their actual rapid rating online. So like I pretty much believe in like a lot of ideas that I'll talk about, and other people have had success with them. And if you give any of my advice a try and find some success, then also let me know too. It'd be cool to see overall anyone that kind of follows the program and sees some success. Okay. Also, you should be reasonable about your improvement goals. Chess is like pretty difficult to improve at. Like patience is really important. When you're starting out, you might be gaining like tons of points every week. At some point, you might get a new rating high every month or so, and then it'll get like rarer and rarer. So the more interested you are in chess, or the more stronger your resolve to improve, the greater chance you will have at ultimately becoming better. I think a lot of people might really underestimate how much work it takes to get a title in chess. But if you just focus on improving the next 100 rating points, like let's say you're at 1250, try getting to 1300. Make that your goal? But don't worry if you don't hit it in a week or two. Like give it at least some months. Over time, you'll just repeat the process, and in a few years, you'll just be like 500 points stronger. So I think that's how most people kind of approach it. And also, the main reason we're focusing on tactics and calculation, outside of it being the most useful thing for your chess, is that I'm not a master, so I give you like positional evaluations. They're definitely not going to be the most reliable. It's still helpful, like if you're analyzing with a stronger player, to hear what they're saying, but like you should rightfully so be kind of skeptical of if I think having the bishop here in a certain situation is good or not. I just kind of guess and think, okay, I know a lot of times it is good, so I'll just go for it as much as possible. But if you watch like the lessons I have with my coach, you'll see how often he thinks some of my positional decisions are I guess suspect, and he just has like a much better understanding of the game than me. But the fact that I reached the level I am while not having that strong positional understanding means that it's definitely not as important for most people to improve. Like, that comes later. And the best way to explain it, like I said before, like one bad move can ruin a good game. The tactical mistake is one that will, like, you'll just hang a piece or just be down material, and it'll be very difficult to come back from. If you make a positional mistake, one positional mistake alone isn't enough to win a game. Typically when grandmasters win against other grandmasters, they're building up small advantages over time, and then that they're not able to keep up with the pressure, and then they make some like tactical mistake. But usually, because even in like beginner games, there's tactical mistakes that you hang your queen, your opponent might hang the other queen back like a few moves later, and then as you move up, yeah, you're making some positional mistakes. Your opponent will also make some positional mistakes. It's only when you're actually at like that master level that like it's really important not to make certain positional mistakes, because just one can just make your game like unplayable almost. So let's see. Yeah, and also like engine analysis can verify if someone is right when they're talking about tactics or calculation, but engine can't explain like positionally what's going on. That's why having annotated games or just listening to a GM or IM or NM talk about what's going on positionally is going to be like pretty helpful there. Okay, that's pretty much it. Next, I guess I'm going to be talking about tactical vision in more detail, and maybe talk about the kind of training that I do personally to learn patterns. And I'm going to try to build a training program that people can follow, kind of inspired by the one that I did, which is inspired by the woodpecker method. And so yeah, we have that to look forward to. I don't know exactly when that'll be out, because I'm not even sure when this video will be out, but it will be out, guaranteed, someday, hopefully. Alright, so I rambled enough, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.